just did a presentation on how advice is changing with technology. And great presentation, by the way. Enjoyed
Thank you.
every bit of it. Particularly, I wanted to dive into how you view technology and how it's changing the advisor landscape, because we hear a lot about it. We hear about how advisors need to think about how technology is changing the landscape and how they can leverage different technologies to actually evolve their practice. But in your mind, what are the three biggest things that they should be thinking about?
Okay. Well, let's start with a basic, easy one. Technology has provided huge amounts of information to clients that they didn't used to have before. So when I go back and think about my parents' day, my parents completely depended on an advisor to make all the decisions. I mean, the only question really was, how much risk do you want to take? Outside of how much risk do you want to take, the advisor made all the decisions, told my parents what to do, and they said, okay, that sounds great.
Yep.
They didn't really have any ability to go check on the financial vehicles that were being used and see, in their opinion, what the performance was. They got some paper that might be handed to them. That paper could have been a complete lie, right? I mean, they had no idea. And so they had very little to go on, or very little ability to participate in any of the decisions. Completely different today. So technology, not only in the wealth management space, but in the healthcare space and a lot of different industries, we can now search online. And not that every single thing's correct, but there's sure a lot out there. And if you want to spend an hour or two, you can really dive into the details of the investment vehicles people are putting you in and what the performance has been, what the commissions are that are paid, and you can learn just about anything you want to learn. And so that's one thing that's really changed, I think, is today advisors don't have a license to just make all the decisions on behalf of their clients without the clients either wanting to participate or having some knowledge.
Right.
So I know for me, I'll give you an example. The people who manage our funds, the moment Brexit happened, the moment I heard it passed, I immediately started searching online, trying to figure out, well, what is that going to do to the economy in the U.S.?
Right.
And I really wanted to understand that. Months later, I run into our advisor, and I said, hey, dude, how come you never told me anything about Brexit and how it was going to impact things? And he literally looks at me and goes, oh, you wanted to know?
Unbelievable.
And I was like, oh yeah, actually I wanted to know. And so I looked it up myself, and here's what I found. I found people think this could happen, or they think this could happen. It's a long way off, so probably it might not happen. So I told him everything I'd found. He goes, yeah, that's pretty close to what we saw as well. And I was like, well, next time, there's a big event that happens, maybe you're a little proactive and you reach out to me instead of me doing all my own research, on all of this. But it was interesting seeing how perplexed he was that I cared, or that I actually wanted to understand the impact on, my portfolio of things like that. And that also, he seemed surprised that I had the ability to go read about it, learn about it, and, make my own predictions. So I think that's the number one thing with technology is it's changed the knowledge level and the willingness to be participatory with clients.
Right.
And we have to be aware of that.
Yeah, I think there's a good stat out there that, and I think it's even higher now, that 62% of individual investors are starting online and doing their own research, and that was back from 2016. So I think it's even more. It's a larger number, and it's just the power's now a lot more in the investors' hands. What are some other things from a technology perspective? So there's the information that's out there. What are some other things that are really shifting how advisors should be building and shaping their practice?
All right, so let's talk about the Humala G balance in the relationship between an advisor and a client. So the concept of Humala G is that there is an integration of humans and technology getting processes done.
Interesting.
There's actually a scale, right?
Yeah.
The scale goes T1, 2, 3, 4, 5, H1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 0 is a 50-50 human and technology task.
Okay.
So every process now that a financial advisory firm does is somewhere on that Humala G scale, right? So the management of portfolios is part done by technology, part done by human. Right? The communication with a client, part done by email and technology, right? Part done by human connection. So if you understand this sliding Humala G scale, one of the big things that's happening is we're getting more and more technology to allow a client to self-serve their own information from us, to possibly even make their own changes and trades or anything that they want to do. And so now we're having to figure out by client, how much human versus how much technology do they want in the relationship.
Gotcha.
And different people are very different in their views. So I know I can speak for my wife and I think our kids, we don't want much human. We just don't.
Right.
We're very busy. We're very comfortable with technology. If there's anything that you can do with technology to communicate with us, we prefer that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to meet with us once a year in person, just so that we don't forget what each other looks like, okay. But that's it. That's all we need to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my mother, for example, it's straight human.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want a text message. She doesn't want to do anything with technology, with any vendor that she deals with.
Right.
She's not going to do her banking through an online banking system. Nothing.
She wants a person.
And it's not just age.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it's amazing. You'll have younger people that they enjoy the human contact.
I was literally just changing my flight because I have to get back to interview someone back in New York, and I called, and I'm, if we talk about generation, I'm in the millennial generation, but for whatever reason, I think it's just historical. I felt more subconsciously comfortable with calling the airline versus going online.
Right, which is interesting because for me, it's the opposite. My first is to go to the app and try to do it all myself, and I only call as a last resort, to talk to a human.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the second thing I would say that I think's dramatically changed firms and needs to change firms and will change is the ability to use technology to build a relationship with clients and having to judge by client how do you want me to communicate with you? Do you want to self-serve certain capabilities, or do you just want me to do this all for you?
Right.
And customizing that relationship for each one is something that we will be doing now for decades. I'll give you the third one quick because it's all around artificial intelligence and machine intelligence decision support systems.
This is interesting, and sorry to cut you off, but you were talking about artificial intelligence, and we were talking about before. You have a very not different point of view, but there's the word artificial intelligence scares a ton of people, and they think it's going to either eat the world or take over the world, and we're all going to become robots. How does that play into not only your view in AI, but also your view into how AI plays into the advisor world?
Well, in general, I wrote a whole book on this topic, and so I researched it for a long time. Human beings tend to fear technology. So robotics, AI, automated technology like that, humans fear it. And that's why we make all the movies that we make. They're all dark and post-apocalyptic, and machines take over and rule the world.
Right.
And you don't see any movies that show a beautiful world, a utopian world, where machines support us. It's crazy. So it's a psychological issue with humanity, that we only see machines hurting us, not helping us. I don't look at the world that AIs are going to replace a bunch of jobs and displace a bunch of humans and cause a bunch of problems. I look at AIs and robotics and machine learning and deep learning as tools that will amplify and free humans to work less, make better decisions, be healthier, have more convenience. So I'm a utopian believer. And not because I'm an optimist, right? Just because I'm an optimist. It's because I really understand technology and I really understand how we apply it. And I really have played out what happens when you take half of all the work humans do and you turn it over to machines. What does that really look like? And so I've studied that. In the financial planning world, no different. Right now you have a lot of humans doing calculations. You have a lot of humans doing spreadsheets.
Yep.
You have a lot of humans trying to calculate how to get a good return, for a client. AIs are going to be able to do that much better, because they can study huge amounts of information in real time and help make decisions that no human could ever possibly try to make. Plus, AIs are not swayed by commissions or anything else. And AI is going to do what you tell the AI to do.
Right.
Machines learn faster than humans. One of the big things people don't really understand yet is machine learning and deep learning. Allow a machine to learn in days what a human takes years and years to learn. It's why we have machines beating humans at games now. And beating the top master in the world at a game is beat by a machine the day it's born. Literally the day they turn on the machine.
Really?
Train it. The day it plays its first game, it can be the best human ever. Because a machine can look at 1 million games and learn from 1 million games literally in a week or two and play a human who's played 250,000 games, who's the best human in the world, but only played 250,000 games,
Yep.
and the machine will wipe them out the day it's born. And people don't understand that about machine learning, that now that we're getting very good at machines knowing how to learn and teach themselves rules, you can apply a machine to financial models, and it's able to look at a volume of data no human could look at once. And it's able to do it in real time, and it's able to develop its own rules and make decisions no human has the capacity to do. So that's going to change the financial services space. But that's only in the area of just, being able to make recommendations.
Right.
I think even in just how do you onboard a client, how do you communicate with a client, how do you update a client, when do you update a client?
Right.
We'll have relationship AIs that will control all that. In other words, if you and I were both going to the same financial planner, they might ask you some questions and me some questions. We answer them slightly differently. They'll tune their communication AI to say, okay, look, this is how often he wants to be communicated. These are channels he wants. This is what he wants to know about.
Yeah.
And that AI will control the communication to you. And mine will be different.
And it helps with that percentage that you mentioned of 50-50 versus 80-20 versus 60-40 of how much human versus technology that someone would want.
Exactly. You might want just a little bit of technology communicating and more human, and so
Right.
the AI will do that. The AI will tell a planner when to talk to you,
Right.
and it'll send you information at a rate that you want, whereas the AI will just strictly talk to me. I won't even engage with a human at the organization. If I have any questions, I'm going to ask the AI.
Right.
It's around 24/7. It's very efficient at giving me answers. I talk to my Alexa and Siri and Google Home and my Apple device all day.
Right.
And I'm comfortable with talking to them. I don't need to talk to a human at your firm.
Right.
If I do, it's rare, and I'll tell you. Yeah, so an AI will be able to control all the relationship touch points.